Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here for another video on Marvel Strike Force, and today I want to talk to you all about power cores. Now, this may seem obvious to some, but I want to talk about how you get them, what you do with them, because this is increasingly more important than ever before. This is because that more than before, I'm using my power cores in a different way than I used to in the past, which was primarily for a bit of extra energy to farm with, but now I've actually used them in other ways, sometimes for characters because of how terribly stingy a lot of these character releases are right now, and also pushing further campaign characters now that we have the new heroic difficulty, which has led to a higher drop rate of shards for these characters like Evil Strange. So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys have a better idea on both how to obtain and save your power cores, but also where and when you should use them, and some considerations that you should make before you blow them on something. So without further ado, let's get this show started. Okay, so obviously we have to kind of start here, right? Which is kind of, where do you get them? Where do you get your power cores? I mean, obviously the number one moneymaker is going to be in Arena, right? You know, and this is just, unfortunately, the name of the game right now as far as Marvel Strike Force goes. So, you know, lucky for me, you know, I'm investing in the Arena meta. Not everyone is. If you're a newer player, this sometimes depends on your luck and your Arena shard and how many whales there are, whether or not you're whaling or things like this, right? You know, so lucky for me this morning, I actually got an Arena rank payout of 3, and I did not have to snipe. I don't know, maybe people were asleep today. So I got 400 cores, which is great. You know, not everyone's going to be, you know, in this top 10. Some people might not even be in the top 50, you know, which gets you 200 power cores. But I actually think that as long as you stay on top of the game in a reasonable way, that you are paying attention to the meta, that I actually think it's not so hard to get in the top 100. I really believe this, that as long as you're keeping up with the characters that need to be kept up with, and I know that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for some early and mid-game players that are not going to be getting the full Darkhold team. I don't think it's the end of the world, personally. I think that we'll probably still be able to use the Eternals for some time to come. I don't think that this definitely is not a video about like how to stay up with the meta. But my point is that obviously we know that a lot of the power cores do come out of Arena, and it is really important. I kind of wish that they would rejig this a little bit. I feel that in some ways it is a little bit unfair, because primarily if you're not like in the top 250, that, you know, less than 100 power cores, it's not that great. However, there are other ways in which you can obtain these. So daily objectives gives you quite a bit as well. Unfortunately, I've cleared most of my daily objectives, but I do believe that there's kind of like around, I want to say that there's like 80 or so, I probably have that number wrong. It's less, I think it's less than 100, but it's like somewhere between 50 and 100 power cores that you can get out of the daily objectives. You get quite a bit from the final daily objectives, so you're going to get some here to compensate for whatever your score in Arena is, right? And thirdly, actually, and some people forget about this, that you get 50 power cores from the High Roller milestone, and this is probably the best place for you to min-max your power cores, personally. Because if you go all the way up to 1 million gold spending per day, you get 50 power cores. So you get 10 here at milestone 4, 10 at milestone 6, 15, and then 15. And that's where it kind of stops. So unless you're sitting on a shit ton of money, I think that you should probably just kind of try to squeeze out the 1 million gold a day if you're in the position to be able to do that, which most people are. Your daily gold income typically is actually around that, so I don't think that's going to be much of a challenge for some people. So as long as you're like at a, you know, reasonable way through the game, getting 1 million gold a day actually isn't that much of a challenge. And so now we have to talk about, well, what do you do with it, right? And so back in the day, and this is going to be different depending on if you're an early player, mid-game player, or a late-game player. Like, so for most newer players and people still leveling up, you're going to want to use your energy most likely on, your power cores rather, on refreshing your energy. You get the pack, the free pack, but beyond that, you kind of want to use your 50 power cores on energy for 120 energy. This is pretty normal in the early game, and the reason for this is because you need XP, right? And so this is a thing where the more energy you spend, the more XP you gain. The great thing actually about that is that they somewhat recently, I don't know, like 6 to 7 months ago, they added that to the ISO 8 experience track. So once you unlock ISO 8 energy, you're also getting XP through this that way too. So it's made the leveling up experience a lot easier for newer players, which is really nice. But you're going to want to pivot at some point, once you get, to max level anyways, that you're going to be using less, in my opinion, on raw energy and more for other things. And I think this has become more relevant, specifically, I would say, since December. And I keep referencing this point in various videos where the Magic character event came out, and it was not good. As far as shards go, character events on releases were on the down, or are on the down. And you're lucky to maybe get a 3-star character. 3 or 4. 4-star is kind of rare. Morbius was the last one. Before that, it was a lot of 3-star characters for their character events. And so that's what kind of led me to using my power cores on characters. Not a complete unlock. It doesn't have to be, depending on how much cores you're able to save. But it can really help push you to get to an extra star rank, or even to unlock a character that you perhaps may not have been able to do, because you can't, for whatever reason. The event was too difficult or challenging for you. You don't have what it takes to do it. You don't have the time. Whatever it happens to be, right? And so cores are a really interesting, multifaceted way that can help propel you in the game in a variety of different places. So for me, just in the recent history, I spent power cores on the 675 core orb for Agatha. So unfortunately, that's not around anymore, and this event is absolutely terrible. We're not here to talk about that. But, I used this on Agatha because I knew that the Darkhold team was something that I wanted to build, but, I didn't put it on Wong because I can blitz pretty hard. I know some people can't. And I knew, deep down in my loins, I knew that the Agatha event was going to be downright trash. And how did I know that? I mean, part of this is just because I cover events, and so therefore I kind of have a feeling, I have a hunch, when something is going to be bad. And I know that doesn't necessarily help everyone, because other people might not have the same kind of data that I do, but I do cover this quite frequently, and it gives me, when you look at data mines and things like this, like when I saw a power core milestone, I just kind of knew that the total shards that we would get out of this was not going to be very good. And so for newer players, or more mid-game players who maybe have some cores that they saved, this might have been a time to do that. And maybe not to fully unlock, but, maybe just buy a couple of orbs that might have brought you closer to getting the unlock for those that are going to be more difficult. And so I want to talk about this because more and more I'm using it for these kind of methods rather than that. And the reason why this is easier to do, and actually I did not have this prepared in advance, so that's my apologies. The reason why I'm doing this and moving it more towards characters is because of this energy milestone. Okay, so we have this on a daily basis that you're getting the daily web reward. Make sure you just sign that in, by the way. And you get 100 energy and a premium orb every single day at store reset for doing a blitz. Now, this is great because this saves you potentially 50 cores. It's not exactly 120 energy, but it's close enough. This saves you 50 cores and not having to do this on every day. So that allows you, on a monthly basis anyways, hypothetically, that's 1,500 cores saved. That's 50 times 30 days, I'm pretty sure. So times 5 is 250, times 10 is 500. So 30 is 1,500 cores saved. Just on this sheer act alone, you're saving 1,500 cores on a monthly basis. And so what does that equate to? Well, for characters, it's 2 orbs, but that's still like 12 plus shards that you didn't have before. And if you do this every month, because that 600 is really important. That number, that 600 energy, is pretty important for your daily objectives, to make sure that if you're in an alliance, which you should be, that you're getting in the energy that you need to for your alliance raid key generation. And that's really, really important, right? And so the second thing I would say is, with all this extra cores being saved, well, how do you know who to use it on? And that's why I want to raise your attention to my character spreadsheet that I'm going to bring over here. I'm going to plop over here because it's kind of important to understand who's going to be good and who's going to have a really shitty event. Sometimes it's hard to predict. Sometimes it's easier to predict. And so just for this patch alone, we can see here, I know my head's blocking a little bit of this, Darkhold patch 6.0. Okay, so anything on my character spreadsheet that's in red typically means that the shard output was low, meaning like a 3-star kind of level. If it's orange, it's kind of like in the 4-star level, and if it's a green, that's like a 4 or 5-star, 4.5, 5-star kind of range. So Wong and Agatha, obviously, everyone that's in a blitz gets a red. And so where you might want to spend your cores is where you kind of need to understand who the best character is in that team, but also what events are likely to be the most shard scarce. And this is probably the most important aspect here, is understanding that part. And so for me, that's Agatha in this Darkhold patch, because I kind of knew, based on what we had seen, data mines and such, that this event probably was not going to be super friendly. Right? I saw like a power core milestone, like I mentioned, and I was like, okay, this didn't seem very great. We knew that Wong was going to be a blitz, and so for those of us who can blitz, you know, to unlock, that's fine. If you can't, you could consider that, but personally, I knew that Agatha as a character was going to be more important than Wong. I know that you need everyone, but realistically, Agatha had so much in her kit, and does have so much in her kit, that I don't think you could do without it. And so that's why I decided to put some orbs into Agatha. And you might get lucky. Who knows, right? Like, there is a chance that you could pull a big shard pull on an orb. 20, 30, or sorry, I don't know if that's a 30, 20, 40, you know, and whatever. You know, I actually got a 40 or a shard pull out of Agatha. Super rare. But, you know, it did happen, and that was amazing. You know, so I didn't have to spend as many cores to unlock Agatha, which is great. Going back the way, I normally am able to save about enough power cores for one character per patch. That's probably because I'm actually only refreshing once. If I'm using my free pack for my campaign energy, and then I'm claiming the 100 online, and then that gives me enough to get to the 600. And so I actually don't spend, unless I need to for an event, I don't go out of my way to spend a lot of cores on refreshes. So a lot of what I'm getting in the arena, in my milestones, in my daily objectives, largely is being saved. So I'm saving, for me personally, probably at least 250 a day. And this allows me over time, hypothetically, again, over 30 days, you know, what is that, 1250, 25, 7,500 cores a month, roughly, that I can save on a monthly basis. Now, not all of you are going to be able to do that, but, you know, you could save 100 cores, maybe 150 cores a day, depending on what you decide to do with that. And then you could put that towards something else. So for me, I stupidly, because I liked Young Avengers, also pulled core orbs for Echo and Kate Bishop. So I'm actually quite low on cores now, and I'm trying to save back up for the next patch. But my point is that normally with the saving that I do, I'm able to save about one character worth per one 100 shard character per patch, typically, to unlock, depending on luck. What did I do in patch 5.9 in the winter? I used the cores on Scarlet Spider, because I knew that his event was not going to be very good. And it wasn't, right? It was 126 shards for Scarlet Spider. Echo was also really bad. Part of the reason why I pulled some orbs for her is because I wanted to get her to 4-star, and the event was not very friendly. It was like 100 shards, I think, at 3-star for not spending. Kate Bishop was a blitz, so I just got 4-star via blitzing, but I know not everyone would have been able to do that necessarily. And obviously, like I said, I do put some cores towards the campaign events now, more than I did before. So with Evil Strange, with the heroic farming, you're actually getting more bang for your buck for coring than you did ever before. You're getting about, on average, I believe, without looking at my spreadsheet, something like 60 shards better doing heroic farming than you would have, say, with Dr. Voodoo before they made the changes. So your cores are actually worth more for these campaign events. What I would typically do is try to ignore the events like this ongoing Agatha as far as the power core spending goes, because it's just absolutely trash. So any events that require you to spend power cores that really isn't worth your while, really understand that, because it's not very good. And so understanding who you should spend your cores on, typically the ones that are going to be events that are the most shard scarce, is going to be the best bang for your buck in order to get more star levels and getting more shards for those characters. So, you know, Scarlet Spider, you know, you could have skipped this patch and then you would have had a crap ton of power cores for anyone here, at Wong, Agatha, and whatever, right? And previous to that, I don't think I did Cersei because she was a campaign character. I didn't actually use really many cores on Silver Samurai. And so I guess I had a lot of cores because I didn't really do much prior to this, actually. There wasn't much that I did. So, you know, there's ways that you can save your power cores for that important character that you want, or maybe that really favorite character that you really want to unlock. And so that's the best advice that I can give to you guys. One thing to avoid, though, and try to avoid this. I know it's very, very challenging. There's this pop-up, and a lot of people are talking about it on Reddit. This one here, and this is a T3 ability material offer. Apparently, this pops up across your screen as a pop-up, and you can accidentally click and lose 1,000 cores. That's absolutely horrific, and this needs to stop. And please, I really hope that nobody actually got suckered into this, but I know that some people did. And it really sucks the fact that they're having power core spending offers across your pop-up screen on the front, and there's no, there's no confirmation button. And so that's absolutely garbage. Ignore the almost all, like 99% of these offers here with power cores. Do not do it. Like, whatever, trust me, it's not worth it. And so I just really wanted to give people that advice here. There's ways that you can use your power cores in other ways that will help propel your gameplay forward. I don't spend a lot of, I barely spend anything in Marvel Strike Force, but I utilize my power cores in a way that helps propel my roster up, like unlocking characters or getting additional shards for characters that are really important. And I think that's really my takeaway key message here, is to make sure that you're using your power cores for more than just energy if you can, especially if you're in the later game. That way you can get yourself ahead and you can get yourself that extra star rank on that character that's really important to you. So that's the end of the video. I hope that this was helpful, and if it was, please smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.